At the age of 56, I found myself fired from my position as a registered nurse. My journey to find a job since then has been a rather bumpy one.
Yeah, so Robbie had some struggles, and we're going to describe to you what she's gone through since then. Is it ageism? Is it a combination of other things? Come along and let us know what you think. Okay, so Robbie, it's been about 6 weeks since they let you go, and what's it been like for you so far?
Well, what's it been like for you? Because you've had to live with me. So it's kind of been all over the place. Emotions, ups, downs, back and forth. Yeah. I do want to right away comment or make a comment about the last video when we did talk about when I was fired. We had so many responses from everyone out there, and a lot of people. Rich and I are our faith. We are our faith is our cornerstone. It's our foundation. And when this happened to me, we basically said, we have to just trust that God has a plan in this. Even though it didn't feel warranted, it came by surprise, out of the blue, but we did definitely lean into our faith. And many of you commented about God has a plan. And, looking back at it, God definitely has a plan. He always has a plan. And ironically, a couple weeks after I was fired from my position, my father, who is 5 hours away from me, suffered a accident while on the job at work and has been in the hospital ever since. And so, being fired from my job obviously gave me the capability of being able to be at my dad's bedside, in caring for him and being available to be there for him. So that right there to me, I'm thankful to God for that, because had that not had I not been fired, that probably it would not have been as easy as it has been for me to be there.
So in a way, it was a bit of a godsend that it happened right at that time.
Yes.
I think it was like 3 weeks after you were fired when
Yeah,
that
2 to 3 weeks, I
when
think.
your dad got in that accident, and then yeah, we know that there's ways that she could have got off work if she would have had a job to be able to
Yeah.
go help, but this just you
Being on a
didn't have to jump through all the hoops for
yeah,
FMLA or for whatever you
right,
had, and I
right.
mean, yeah,
Mhm.
it's not great not having a paycheck, and we're
Right.
going to talk a little bit about the unemployment process here in a few minutes, but um,
Yeah. I mean, it just definitely it was a wide open door to be able to go and care for him because I did not have a job. So I'm grateful to God for that. I think emotionally too, it's been a journey as far as applying for different jobs. I have applied to a lot of jobs. And again, from the video that we did put out about when I was actually fired, there's been just a tremendous amount of comments, people suggesting, hey, try this, look into this. And so I'm so appreciative of all of that, because there's been several positions that I didn't think about, and people have mentioned them, and it's like, oh, yeah, I can do that. So that's been really good too.
and there were a lot of comments about kind of her actual situation,
Hmm.
that this wouldn't happen if she was in a union, but
Yeah,
just so you know, this was a small private practice, that
yeah,
the option wasn't there for a union.
right.
um, and it's just a combination of things have made it's just a rough situation, and it still is.
Yeah, yeah, and it still is, and it's emotional too, in the sense of, I apply for something and I think, oh, hey, this is good, this is a good fit. Like, I really think I would enjoy this, and this would be good. And I've had a couple situations where I've interviewed, for positions that I have been interested in. Most recently, I had one not that long ago, and I was actually really excited about it. Um, like, I was mentally already preparing for accepting the position.
She
Um,
talked to me about how she seemed to click with the hiring
yep,
manager, and
yep. I
they
felt,
were on the same page, roughly in the same age bracket.
yeah, felt
And
really good about it.
yeah, and it was kind of a stay at home or a work from
Remote.
home
Hmm.
sort of job, which
Hmm.
after her last experience, that's maybe what she's looking for, a little bit more of that,
Yeah.
rather than having to go back in an environment where you have to learn to trust people again.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that, she was kind of up in her head like, yeah, this is going to be great
Yeah.
if I get offered this job.
And then unfortunately, I got the thank you, but no thank you email.
Right. And it continues to kind of baffle both of our mind that her
Yes.
34 years of nursing experience just doesn't seem to count for much. And again, so many comments out there about the shortage in nurses
Yeah.
and how it should be easy to find a job. And maybe, if we're honest, Robi is being somewhat picky because we're fortunate.
Absolutely.
We're
Yeah.
in a situation where she doesn't have to take the first thing that's offered to her. We can
Right.
be selective.
Yeah.
And, we're in a position where she doesn't need to work nights and weekends,
Right.
and that's not something that we're ready to do at this stage in our life.
Right.
So I don't want to make it seem like we're complaining
No.
that she doesn't have a job.
No.
We're just waiting for the right job to come along. But it's been an interesting journey so far.
It has. And ultimately, I just always go back to my faith, which is if the right position comes along, I mean, God will provide that. Like I have to be diligent in looking and applying. But I do believe that if there is a position that I am to take, it's going to fall together. I really do believe that.
We do continue to wonder, though, how much her
Yeah.
age is playing a part in this.
Right.
And again, a lot of comments out there where there's people going through the same situation and 100% believe that ageism is a thing, and they let people of our age group go because we cost them more in insurance or for whatever reason. And I tend to believe that there's truth to that, and I think it's an impediment to getting rehired as well, because a company that hires somebody in our age group automatically has to incur those additional expenses that they wouldn't have to necessarily have in a 20 something.
Yeah. And I think another thing that is probably a strike against me is when I went to nursing school a long time ago, the bachelor's programs, the BSN programs were non existent.
Or at
So
least very few and far between.
you're right. Where I went to school in that particular state, there was no bachelor's programs at that time. Now there was within probably 5 years of me graduating from nursing school. But with that being said, yes, I could have went back throughout my career and gotten my bachelor's. I chose not to. I had been at a hospital for many years, and they grandfathered the nurses in that didn't have bachelor's. So at the time, I wasn't interested in going back and getting more schooling, and I didn't need it. Um, and I now at this point in my life, I certainly am not interested in going back and getting my bachelor's. But it does seem to, I definitely do think Rich is onto something there. A lot of the applications that I've submitted, I mean, it straight up says on there, a bachelor's is required. And I don't have that.
And even if it says a bachelor's degree or equivalent experience,
yes,
the equivalent experience, you don't get past the fact that you
I
don't have a bachelor's degree.
That's right. And so, unfortunately, I do think people get excited when they see my experience and um, the diversity of my experience. But then when they ask me about my bachelor's, I don't have a bachelor's. I have a diploma in nursing. And so I do think that I am looked over then to someone maybe with less experience, but who does have a bachelor's.
And I'll tell you, just from my perspective, when Robi, she had that interview a couple weeks ago where she was excited about it, and then we happened to not be together. She was with her dad or traveling back and forth or whatever. When she got the email that said, "Thanks, but no thanks," it's just like she has to relive the fact that she was fired again. And here I am. Here she is thinking she's really good for this new job and doesn't even get a chance. So, not that it's heartbreaking.
No.
It's just it's frustrating. I would say it's frustrating for both of us.
Yep.
And I guess speaking of frustrating, after she was fired, we immediately said, okay, well, the system's out there for us to actually have a little bit of an income, so apply for unemployment. And
right. And I think initially, yes, the system is out there for unemployment, but part of the reason for filing for unemployment is I was looking for a reason. So if you haven't watched our previous video about it, when I was fired, I was not given a reason. I was just told, thank you for your service, your years of service, but you are no longer needed, and clean out your locker and you're fired. And so part of the part of the push behind me filing for unemployment was because I knew that my former employee would have to give unemployment a reason on why I was fired.
They would only have to give a reason if they denied it, if they
If he
tried to
disputed
dispute
it.
it, right?
And so then I started that process, which, that's kind of a interesting process if you've never done it before. So there was a lot of questions, a lot of information that had to be filled out online. Relatively easy as long as you know what you're doing when you're, working on a computer.
Yeah, and
Um,
Robbie's fairly competent technologically with
Not
the
like
computer,
you.
but I don't want to say it was a struggle,
Mhm.
but if you were someone
Yeah,
of our age bracket that hadn't spent much time on a computer,
it would be overwhelming. It would
yeah.
be incredibly overwhelming. Yeah,
But and I think the key thing there is you have to stick to it. I mean, the benefits are there.
yeah.
Stick to it and do what you have to do, even if it means bringing somebody that's a little more tech savvy in
Hmm.
to help you get through the questions to get yourself into the application process.
Right, absolutely. And that was the first step to apply. I had to apply for unemployment online, so I went through all of that. And it was a little time consuming, but it got done. And then you basically sit back and you wait, because what happens then is they reach out to your employer, and he either disputes it or he says, okay, yeah, I'll pay unemployment. Um,
And in the meantime, you have to be applying for jobs.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Now we are in Missouri, so the minimum, I don't know what it is for each state, but our state requirements here is you have to apply for a minimum of 3 jobs a week, and you have to put all of that information into the system. You have to show proof that you have applied. Now, probably on average, I've applied to at least 5 a week, I would say. It's interesting because some people you don't hear anything back from. Other people you hear, no, thank you, like a compute, just a generated letter. And then some people I've had interviews and have actually met face to face with. Um, but then you have to show how many jobs you've applied to, and then you submit it week by week. Um, I don't think, when did I first hear something back from them?
Well, I think you were just checking
Yeah,
week after week,
weekly. Yep.
and I think you had 3 of them on file, and they all showed in the system on file. That's pretty much all it
Yes.
said.
Yes.
And
Yep.
then all of a sudden there was a change. It was pending. That's what it was. It was
Yes.
pending.
Yep.
And then it changed to
Issue on
issue
file.
on file. Yeah.
So that was interesting to me because it said issue on file.
And it said it for all the 3 weeks that you
Hmm.
had applied for already. So we're 3 weeks
Yeah,
after she was terminated.
right. So then it said issue on file. So then I think I maybe waited a day or something, and then I did the the painful task of calling the unemployment office, which is painful, because you get passed around, right? It's like press this for this and do this for this, and it takes forever before you actually get to a body. There were several times where I waited on hold, for 20 minutes. A couple times I just hung up and started again later. But eventually you get to a human and you can talk to a human. So I questioned, what does this mean when it says, on or dispute or something,
It's an issue on
issue
file.
on file. That's right. And the employment person, unemployment worker got back to me and basically said your former employer, I'm sorry, is disputing your claim. And she gave me, the reason why, what he had told her. Um, and I said, nah, that's not the truth. And so then I told her, I basically gave her my response to what he disputed, or what his response was. And she said, okay, I will get it back to him and we will go from there. So then again, it was just a waiting game. So I kept checking every day. And I think it was on a Friday. It out of the blue, I looked and I think it said denied or denial or something. And I was like, oh, so they denied it. It was like 4 o'clock. I tried to call, everybody's gone for the weekend. So I waited till Monday, went online, got ready to call them. And on Monday morning, all of the claims said processed.
And
So,
we got the first payment in the bank already that day
yeah,
on Monday. And it was for the 3 weeks before. It was for all the 3 weeks that she had submitted
yeah.
prior to that.
So I'm not really sure what happened there. I mean, when I had talked to someone the week before, they basically told me that they looked and he at that point had not answered. He had not, my former employer, I'm sorry, had not responded. This was like on a Thursday. And so I'm not sure if what happened, if they found it unfounded, the claim unfounded, but whatever it was, I have not talked to anyone since then. It just said now it was processed. And then weekly, I get a small amount put into my bank account.
Yeah, and for some reason, I'm sure again different state from state to state, but here in Missouri, they actually kept a week of her unemployment
Yeah.
for
Called,
some
it's
reason.
called a waiting period. So one
Yeah,
week you just don't get paid anything.
yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
then but every week since then it's been seamless. She goes
Mm-hmm.
on Sundays typically and puts in
Where I've
where
applied.
she's applied during the week, and then a couple days later, the amount drops into our bank account. So
Right. And then another thing that I have also done with the unemployment agency is actually today I had a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet, whatever it was, meeting with a employment worker who basically sat down with me online for an hour and talked about, okay, hey, what kind of jobs, what are you actually looking for? How much do you want to work? What is the pay that you would like to have?
and you had to do some online test or something before,
Yeah, I
right?
had, before I could meet with her, I had to fill out all kinds of, there was a huge questionnaire that had to be taken care of. There was, I think it's called Talify assessment that I did online that basically looks at your strengths and your weaknesses. So she had all of that in front of her, and then we had a meeting, and that was actually really informational. She gave me a few added extra tips on, potential things, basically trying to really think outside of the box um, on exactly what I need to do or what I want to do going forward. So it was definitely worth my time to speak with her for sure. So it's been an interesting journey. Uh, it's an emotional journey, but it's been a good journey. I've learned a lot through it.
So I think I guess the message that we would want to put out there is if you find yourself in this situation
Yeah,
and use the benefits that are available, apply for unemployment.
yeah,
If the employer denies it, like Robbie's initially did, just tell your story.
yeah,
Maybe that's all it takes. And then the employer won't, doesn't have a response that meets
yeah.
employment or the unemployment office's criteria or whatever it is, and you'll get the unemployment.
Right.
Uh,
Don't just quit if they dispute it. That would definitely be one thing that I would encourage people.
yeah, I mean, you don't have to have an attorney or anything like
No,
that. Just
tell your story.
right. It surely doesn't hurt. Right.
Right.
And we heard from a lot of people, not a lot of people, but we heard from some people like it's just not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Just get past it and move on. But hey, a few $100 a week is better than,
Mm-hmm.
a kick
Nothing.
in the teeth. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, it's definitely worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that the lady today that you talked to, you also got the impression from her that the fact that you are in your 50s
Mm-hmm.
is
Yeah.
probably playing a part in the trickiness of getting rehired, right?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, she was very open about that, it is tricky when you're in your late 50s at this age. It's also very tricky because I don't have a bachelor's. She did, interestingly enough, make several comments about, healthcare is doing this to themselves because there's such a shortage and everyone knows there's a shortage, but yet I'm out there trying to get a job with 34 years of nursing experience, willing to work, um, don't have a bachelor's, and they overlook me because I don't have my bachelor's and because I'm 56. So it's almost like healthcare is unfortunately healthcare is causing their own shortage.
Yeah. So again, we just wanted to give you guys an update, kind of a little bit. The response to the video about Robbie getting fired was,
Overwhelming.
yeah, sort of
Yeah.
overwhelming. So just give you a quick update. Not a lot's changed. She still doesn't have a job.
No, I don't.
But again, we definitely believe it was part of God's plan. It gave her
Absolutely.
an opportunity to spend a lot more time nursing her dad.
Yeah.
And that's, you know,
That's most important for
yeah, it's
me.
probably time that she wouldn't have gotten before and time that she won't get back. So,
Yeah.
you know, it turned out good for us.
Yeah. I'm going to continue the journey. I do feel that I want to work again for sure. Obviously, my priority right now is my caring for my father. But I'm going to continue the journey and keep doing this process, and we'll see where God takes us for sure.
And it is opening up some other doors. Maybe there's uh, entrepreneur type things that we
Yeah.
can be doing. There's some other things that people have talked to us about that maybe will fit with Robbie's desire to work from home and be able to control her own schedule a little bit like that. So,
Yeah.
again, we just want to say thanks for all the support we got on all of our videos, but especially the last one. We still owe you guys a video on applying on what to do when you get in front of the hiring manager
Yeah.
as a person that's, you know, later on in your career. And we're going to get that one done here, one of the next few that we do. And yeah, so that's where we're at. If you have any questions for us or comments, again, in the comment section, we read them all. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure you're liking the video and subscribe to the channel and come along the journey with us. You know, maybe this is Robbie's step into retirement.
Yeah.
We haven't made that decision yet, but maybe that's where we're at here. So come along. And again, thanks for watching. God bless.